Yo everyone, my name is Akash and today I'm gonna show you the imperfect tense. Prior knowledge required. This is what I'm expecting you to know already when you are learning the imperfect tense. I'm expecting you to know what the personal pronouns are. So you should know that je is I, and tu is you, and elle is she. Then I'm also expecting you to be able to conjugate regular and irregular verbs in the present tense fluently. And I'm also expecting you to also be able to conjugate a verb in the conditional tense. If you haven't come across these concepts yet or haven't quite mastered these yet, I strongly recommend that you pause this video right now, go find a relevant video relating to these grammatical concepts and master them. Because if you know all of these three grammatical concepts, the imperfect tense will be really easy to just learn in like 10 minutes. However, if you don't, you're gonna have to put in a lot more effort now. Okay, so let's crack on. So when do we use the imperfect? We use it to describe an event you used to do. For example, I used to play tennis, or she used to eat a lot of chocolate when she was younger. They used to love math, and so on. Describe an event you were doing. So I was playing tennis about 2 hours ago. She was eating chocolate when I entered the room. And then also to give a description of event. For example, it was so fun. C'était si amusant. Those are three different situations which demand you to conjugate a verb in the imperfect. So now, how do we conjugate a verb in the imperfect? Remember our three different types of verbs. ER, IR, and IE. Regardless of what type of verb it is, you're going to conjugate it in the new form of the present tense. So aller is going to be allons, and then finir is going to be finissons, and vendre is going to be vendons. So that's the first step. Then what you need to do is chop off the ONS. Allons has lost its ONS, finissons has lost its ONS, and vendons has lost its ONS. So this is called the imperfect step. Then, what you need to do is add these endings to your imperfect stem depending on the personal pronoun you're using. So if it's je, you have to add AIS, tu, you have to add AIS, elle, il, on, you have to add AIT, nous, IONS, vous, IEZ, ils/elles, you have to use AIENT. What you've noticed is that all the conjugation stuff you've done, you've already learned how to do. You know how to conjugate a verb in the new form of the present tense. You know these endings from the conditional tense. Say if we wanted to conjugate aller in the imperfect in the je form, we got an imperfect stem. The imperfect ending for je is AIS, so we add the imperfect ending to the stem. So j'allais, tu allais, elle allait, nous allions, vous alliez, ils allaient. Same thing happens for the other two verbs, finir and vendre. So that is how you conjugate a verb in the imperfect. What you might be expecting me is to stop this video and say, next video, we're going to look at the irregular verbs in the imperfect. However, there are no irregular verbs in the imperfect, fortunately. So some of you might be wondering why. Here are three verbs which are usually irregular in most tenses. So if we apply the same conjugation pattern with the other verbs we were just talking about, you conjugate your verb in the new form of the present tense. Nous savons, nous devons, nous voyons. Chop off ONS like usual, forming an imperfect stem, and then you just add the endings. These three usually irregular verbs still follow the same conjugation pattern. And the reason why there's no regular verbs in the imperfect is that by conjugating any verb in the new form of the present tense, you're always going to get a scenario where it ends in ONS, you chop it off, and then you always add the same endings. So that way there's no irregular verbs in the imperfect, because you're always following the same pattern. However, I'm sorry guys, there's always going to be a regular verb in the imperfect. There's always going to be one. It's French we're talking about. The one irregular verb is être. What you might be wondering, why être is the only regular verb? Well, if you think about it, if we try to apply the same conjugation rule, new form of être in the present tense nous sommes, we can't chop off the ONS and add the endings like we usually do, because there is no ONS. So instead what we have to do, we have to remember that the irregular stem is E with an accent and T, and then the exact same endings. So there it is. That's how you conjugate être in the imperfect. That's the only irregular verb, because when you conjugate in a new form, you don't get an ONS. So there you go. That's how you conjugate a verb in the imperfect and how to use the imperfect. The imperfect is probably, in my opinion, the second hardest tense to wrap your head around. So feel free to rewatch this video if you need to, and just be resilient, guys, and put in the effort, and you will master this tense. Good luck with your French studies, and I wish you have a nice day.